are some of the differences working in America, working on a studio film, and working in Denmark?
Well, I would say the biggest difference is that you're saying hello to 500 people every morning in America, and as opposed to 30 in Denmark. If you're doing a big Hollywood production, it's enormous. But having said that, once you start working, you still sit like 5 people around the table and discuss the scene. You try stuff out, and the working process is pretty much the same in many ways. And they do listen to us. They do collaborate as well. So it's not been that big a leap in the sense of the working process. Obviously, it's a different thing to make a film in a language that's not your native tongue, but that's just something you have to adopt eventually.
As an actor, what is your process? Because you bring a great deal, and maybe this is the dogma training that you had at the beginning with your generation in Denmark. What is your process for making your character as real as possible?
My process is very much in the script. It's very script-based in the sense that I do like that everybody's on the same page once we start working. Meaning that there's a huge work before we start shooting for me, with the director, with the scriptwriter, with the other actors. That we have a fairly good idea together where we want to go with this film, where stuff is happening, what's the curve for this character, what's the curve for this character. And that will change, and we will come up with new ideas once we are on the set, and that's cool. I love that. But as long as we know what we are trying to aim for, that's very, very important for me to know that it's not ending up wherever. You know, I think that I can help the process if I know where the director wants to go. If I don't know, I can't really be helpful. Then I'm just running around as a blind man. So that is very important for me to nail that. Couple of months before, I guess.
Now, when you started out in Denmark with Refn and the Pusher films, a lot of the time, and you were trained as a dancer and an acrobat, right, a gymnast. There's a great deal of violence and physicality and athleticism, and then you also, as you were trained as an actor as well, brought this kind of intimate reality to it. And very few actors have all of those things in one package.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I'm not super aware of what tools I'm using at what time. But I do believe that what I do love about film is the fact that you can make the audience come to you. You don't have to go to the audience as opposed to theater. You do have to do that. And I guess as a dancer also, I liked to be present, but not necessarily giving too much. Didn't always work depending on the size of the stage, but there was something about that I found intriguing, and watching that as a dancer myself, watching other people doing it, I found really inspiring. So I guess it's a combination of being able to fill the room and also make the room very small. That doesn't sound too crazy, but there's something in there that I unconsciously work with, I guess.
And when you did the silent role with Refn and Valhalla Rising, how did you manage to handle that without dialogue?
It was actually tougher than I thought, because also physically he's exploding once in a while, but that's merely to survive or to eat, whatever. And the rest of the time he's very restrained. He's almost zen, and so there's a lot of energy in me as a person, and I had to restrain that the whole day, and that was quite frustrating. But it also became interesting after a couple of weeks. It became like a kind of meditation for me. So just try to be and not to do, so it was quite provoking, but it was also very interesting work.
At an interview that you gave here, you got a tribute here at Telluride. Congratulations. Well deserved. You basically said that Taxi Driver was your favorite film.
Yep.
Could you explain what it was about that De Niro character that affected you so much?
Well, I've always been a great fan of De Niro. I think he's doing something that is very personal. At the same time, it's, in my eyes, in my point of view, is very different every time. But I can recognize something of him in there. But the character in Taxi Driver is something. It's a character that is in many ways dislikable. We don't like him, but we stay with him constantly. So eventually we have to embrace him a little, and the more we do that, the more, not necessarily understand him, but the more we go down a path that we wouldn't have done with him, right? And I thought that was the film gave me an enormous dilemma. I was not sure exactly what they wanted to tell me, and I thought that was so powerful. Instead of giving me an answer, they gave me a lot of questions, and for that reason, it just opened up my eyes to a different way of making films.
Well, now that your career is hitting its stride, if you like, has Hollywood come calling even more aggressively than they did before? Are you getting offered more parts?
I guess so to a certain degree, but it's hard for me to tell because when I'm working, I'm not necessarily hearing about people who wants me to work for them in the same period. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to do a TV show now.
Hannibal.
An American one.
Starting on Tuesday?
On Tuesday, tomorrow.
In Toronto?
Toronto, yeah.
Tomorrow, my God.
Tomorrow, and I look so much forward to that. It's a different step in my life, and for my family as well. We're moving for the first time ever outside our own country. So that's interesting, and so I'm booked for a while. So I guess if Hollywood is getting more eager to call me, it's too late.
No, it'll only
well, I mean,
enhance.
I still got time to work. I got a couple of months, guys.
Yeah.
But
No.
I mean, yeah, I mean, in that sense, I think I get the best of the two worlds. I mean, I'm still Danish. People still occasionally call me and ask me if I want to do a Danish film, and they also do it over here. So it's.
And Refn's career is taking off, so you can always work with him again.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully one day. I mean, he's finding his footing as well as a man who's working over here, and I think he deserves it so much. And if one day he calls me, I will be ready.
Do you have any explanation for why Scandinavian cinema in general, it's not just Denmark, is doing so well? And not only, I wouldn't even say cinema, I would say culture. I would say books, literature, cinema, all of it.
I think there's a strong governmentally support in art back home. I mean, we are making, as a small country, we have 5 million people, we are making about 22, 23 films a year, and they are all financed, half of it from the government. Meaning there is a certain liberty to do the film you want to do. We do like people watching our films, don't get me wrong, but if you're making an art house film, it's not a disaster that, let's say, 100,000 people see your film. That means that out of those many films, you will find people who are very personal about the films, and they find their own language. And for that reason, we get a big variety of different films. I think that is one of the